Dream just to be free, just to be free. Now when we've taken our first step towards a life of complete freedom, we can see our dream getting closer and closer. We're almost there. Oh God, thank you for giving us the strength to hold on. And now we're here together, calling you for freedom.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good evening and welcome to the special focus. I am Zahid Jadwat and we are together until 8 p.m. tonight right here on Salaamedia, of course via our live stream on salaamedia.com/listen-live on our Facebook page and on our YouTube page, as well as live on our Twitter page. Thank you so much for tuning in. Now, as the third executive mayor of the city of Tshwane to have been appointed since 2016, newly elected Mayor Randall Williams is now tasked with the mission to clean up the capital city after what I call a political roller coaster of ups and downs. The 2016 local government elections saw former Mayor Salaamedia Msimanga gain victory in the city of Tshwane after contesting the election under the banner of the Democratic Alliance, this being the first time that the party won the mayoral position in the city. But Msimanga resigned early last year to focus on his Gauteng premiership campaign, and then came in former Mayor Stevens Mogolapa, who resigned in February this year due to mounting pressure from the DA and the coalition parties involved in that coalition in the city. So tonight we speak to Randall Williams, who is the newly elected mayor of Tshwane, and in this interview we hope to delve into the core issues facing the residents of Tshwane, and I want to find out what the newly elected mayor is going to do to address these issues and what are some of his plans and vision for the city. Before we begin, let me inform you that you are most welcome to engage with the mayor and engage in this discussion by calling us on the studio number, and that number is 011 6800 355. Let me just repeat that number. It's 011 6800 355. Please note that we have to limit the duration to 1 minute per listener in order to take as many calls as possible. Alternatively, you may want to leave a comment below our Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter live videos, or you can send us a WhatsApp text message to the number 061 766 0355. So you have many options this evening to engage with us and to engage with the guest, of course, Randall Williams being the executive mayor of the city of Tshwane. And we are hoping to hear from you as well. Of course, especially if you are residing within the city of Tshwane, you are most welcome to call and send us your input as well. Don't forget, after that, we will be having a special segment to get response from one of the activist students. Her name is Lutfia Dean. Of course, this is in response to comments which were made by Professor Adam Habib, who is the Vice Chancellor of the University of Witwatersrand, on the show last week regarding student protests at the university, the fees must fall protests. And you remember that conversation did get heated last week, so we are seeking to balance it out this week and get some perspective from the students. If you are tuning in via audio stream, www.salaamedia.com/listen-live, or you are watching on YouTube, youtube.com/Salaamedia, or facebook.com/Salaamedia. Thank you so much for tuning in. So let me introduce my guest this evening, Mr. Randall Williams, newly elected mayor of Tshwane. Good evening and welcome to the show. How are you doing tonight?
Good evening to you and good evening to your viewers.
All right. So firstly, before we kick off this discussion and get into the serious issues that are facing the city of Tshwane at the moment, first, give us some background to yourself. Who is Randall Williams? Apart from being the mayor of Tshwane, who are you and how did you get here?
Well, I've had a long journey. My journey started on the flats in Cape Town, where I was born. I spent about 7 years living in France, where I spent 6 years in the French military as a paratrooper. And then afterwards came back to Cape Town, became an attorney. And then afterwards, I joined the Department of Trade and Industry, and I got to the level of Chief Director, International Trade and Investment. And then afterwards, Cabinet appointed me to the Companies Tribunal as a member of the Companies Tribunal. And while doing my doctorate in law, I applied to become a part-time counselor Fortunately or unfortunately, the DA then offered me a position of full-time councillor, being the MMC for Economic Development. I then stopped my doctoral studies, and ever since then, I've been a full-time a politician, except for the year and a half period under the Mayor Mokgalapa, and also under the provincial government having placed the City of Tshwane under administration.
Interesting. So before we move on, just could you tell us what inspired you to join politics?
Well, I've always been involved in politics, started school already. I left. I've done 6 years of military training. I was a professional soldier for 6 years as a paratrooper in the French Foreign Legion. And from there, I then tried to join MK. And I wanted to go to Uganda as an instructor. And the ANC representative in Paris, Michael Msizi, then tried to ask me to get to Uganda. But fortunately, again, or unfortunately, time ran out. The ANC and the government at the time came to an agreement in 93 that there would be elections in 94. So during 93, I then came back home and I had to restart my life at home. So I've always been involved in politics, and I always intended to become a politician later in life. But I wanted to experience other types of roles in the private sector and also in government before becoming a politician.
Yeah, so that's really interesting, and fast forward now to October 2020, November 2020, and now you are here you are as the mayor of Pretoria. And of course, the city of Tshwane has had an unstable political situation since the 2016 local government elections. In fact, as I mentioned earlier on, you are the third mayor to have been appointed in the city since then. And between yourself and the former mayor, Mr. Stevens Mokgalapa, the municipality, as I understand, was under administration, and lots of court battles also involved, and motions of no confidence in the previous mayors also involved. So it's been a rough ride for Pretoria citizens between 2016 and now 2020. How do you think this has impacted the city and service delivery in the city?
Look, under Solly Msimanga, for the 3 years, we were largely stable. I mean, we didn't have a political instability. We had a majority government, yes, but we also had an informal arrangement with the EFF that they would work with us on a case-by-case basis. And I think Solly managed that quite well. I think the issue started when Solly then stood for premier in Gauteng province, and then resigned as mayor, and Steve Mokgalapa entered the scene. And towards the end of that year, he started beginning of 2019, and towards the end of 2019, starting October, we got all the disruptions in council by the ANC and EFF councillors walking out. Now, you must please note that during that period, there was political instability, but there was never administrative instability. Services still continued, and you didn't have the disruption of services that you experienced during the time that the Gauteng provincial government was running the city. I mean, during that time, you've had horrendous disruptions in the city for the last 7-8 months that we've been under administration. And in fact, what they've done, the administrators, they put the city into serious, very, very serious financial trouble. They totally messed up the city.
And I do want to hear from the listeners as well, with regards to what it is that they are feeling. How has this impacted them since Mayor Solly Msimanga resigned, and the political instability that ensued as a result after that. You, Mr. Randall Williams, have been speaking about from the very beginning. You have been speaking about what it is that you'd like to implement in the city, and you've stated that the time for empty promises is now over. Now, this is a phrase that many would argue has been being abused by politicians, because we've heard it over and over again. But how do we know that your administration will be different?
Well, because I'm spending a lot more of my time on oversight of operations. For example, I've reinstituted the war rooms. I've looked at the key performance indicators, and on a weekly basis, I want to see improvements. If you tell me that in a region this week there's only 60% of the lights working, come this Friday, I want to see that 63, 64, 65% of the lights are working. I want incremental improvements. So that's what I'm doing. I'm doing oversight of operations. For example, one thing we found out in the performance agreements of the top manager city, they don't have the norms and standards that exist in our license, electricity license and other regulations. Those are not incorporated into their performance agreements. And that's what I'm doing. I'm incorporating it into their performance agreements. So we are stringently performing oversight over them. And on a weekly basis, we're checking them. For example, I've also introduced another committee called the Revenue, Expenditure and Performance Committee. That committee looks at all the capital projects. Now, we have portfolio committees exercising oversight over departments. But what you find that when they give reasons for non-performance, those reasons are not always truthful, and they always come up with fanciful excuses. So whenever they note reasons, what we do is in the REPCO committee, those reasons are investigated by a performance monitoring and evaluation unit. So we get the true reasons why there is no performance or there's a poor performance. So we perform stringent oversight over operations, which should have been done a long time ago.
And I think the oversight which you are speaking about is something really important when it comes to managing a municipality, and I think that's something that's it has to be implemented across the country if we are to have to enable a working South Africa, a South Africa that works for its citizens, and that really is important, you know, to make sure that what you are promising does in fact end up working out and does happen. So talk us through your vision for the city of Tshwane. What is your vision for the city? What do you want to see in Tshwane over the next, for example, 5 years?
Well, I don't think 5 years. I mean, our term left, we'll be fortunate if we've got 11 months left of this term. So we think that elections could probably be called during October next year, or it might even be earlier. So we're looking at what can we do realistically within an 11-month period. So what I'm doing, and taking consideration that the administrators virtually bankrupted the city. For example, the last financial year, 2019-2020, we had a well-funded budget. And when we were removed from office during March, we still had 284 million rand surplus on last financial year's budget. In 3 months' time, from March until end of June, 30th of June, they turned a 284 million rand surplus into a 4.4 billion rand deficit. They spent 4.7 billion rands in 3 months. We don't have that type of money for this financial year. And already because of the COVID-19 pandemic, their projections for revenue collection was woefully overestimated. I mean, they had the period in April where they only collected 66% of revenue for that month, of revenue due. Yet, despite the fact they had the evidence at hand that revenue collection was extremely low because people were losing their jobs, people could no longer pay their municipal accounts, they still projected for the financial year that we will be collecting 90% of revenue. Now we're sitting at an average of 80%. So every month we're under collecting revenue. which means this budget, if we continue at this rate, will also be an unfunded budget. And the law strictly forbids a municipality to have an unfunded budget. So we need to cut down on expenses. We need to increase revenue collection. And that's why for this period, for this financial year, the 11 months that's left, I will be, or rather the 8 months that's left of this financial year, I will be concentrating on the core mandate of a municipality. What is the core mandate of a municipality? That is the delivery of basic services, such as fixing street lights, fixing potholes, cutting grass, doing markings, maintaining your parks, maintaining your cemeteries. These are basic core delivery core services that you need to deliver. Like I said, for this 11 months, I was not elected mayor to put a person on Mars. I was elected mayor to fix potholes, and that's what I intend doing, and I intend doing it well.
Yeah, and it seems as though the city might have fallen into serious trouble when it comes to the financial situation of the city. So you mentioned your plans to cut expenses and increase revenue. You also mentioned about wanting to clean up the streets, fix potholes, street lights, etc. How do you intend on making this work? How do you intend on making this a reality?
Of course, like I said, with the oversight you do, you adopt what the auditors call a dashboard, where you say, this is your output, this is the baseline, this is what you've done for the week. Now you need to do more. So on the dashboard, on a weekly basis, you monitor what they're doing and you verify that the information that they put on the dashboard is reliable. So that is what we're doing now. We're giving them strict timelines, we're giving them key targets to meet, and very importantly, which is not done in government, whether at national, provincial or local government sphere, there's no consequence management. So in what I've also instituted on a monthly basis, there will be consequence management. And if there's wasteful expenditure, for example, fruitless and wasteful expenditure, I will recover that money from the officials. I will sue them for the money. So there will be consequence management. When there are forensic reports that come with recommendations that we must charge an official criminally, I will make sure those recommendations are implemented. That is what we're doing.
Yeah, and of course, you are embarking on this plan now to clean up the city, and just fix the issues that have occurred, in the city over the last few years. What sort of challenges are you expecting, in your pursuit to succeed, and to achieve these goals?
Look, the two main challenges are you don't have the resources that you need to perform those services. So you need to maximize each expenditure, get the maximum value for money. And that means carefully checking your supply chain, because that's like a black hole, a lot of wastage. Because the whole attitude of officials, and this is also national and provincial sphere, you've seen it, what's happening at the Zondo Commission. Why pay 1 rand for something when you can pay 10 rand? You pay 1 rand to acquire the actual good or services, and then other 9 rand go to the middleman. That is the standard practice in South African government. So we need to wisely and efficiently spend the resources that we have and use the resources that we have. Secondly, it is the low productivity of employees. They don't feel that they're obligated to do their work. They come to work for freelance. That's what it comes down to. So to change the culture, it's going to take some time. To instill work discipline in officials will take some time, but we will get there.
Yeah, and just if I may ask, how exactly do you plan on overcoming these challenges? There is a need to raise revenue, but how exactly are you going to raise the revenue? Because where is the money going to come from? Given the financial situation in the country at large at the moment, and the same for the second challenge which you mentioned. Employees who don't find this obligation to serve, adequately. How do you intend on overcoming these challenges?
Look, there's a lot of things we can do. There's a lot of wastage in the system. For example, currently, the electricity losses in the city of Tshwane amounts to 30%. That's revenue foregone. In a country, for example, the water losses is also in that region of 30%. In a country like Denmark, the water loss is 6%. Why is that so? Why can't it be 6% in Tshwane? So we look at all these areas where there's wastage, where there's revenue loss. For example, you have people who refuse, they can afford to pay their electricity bills, but they refuse to pay their electricity bills. So because the simple reason why they're allowed to do that is because we've got a post-paid system in most instances where the residents first consume the electricity and then afterwards they have to pay for it and then they refuse to pay. So change the system, make it a prepaid metering system where they first have to buy the electricity before they can consume the electricity. So there's a lot of things you can do where there's a lot of waste in the system.
Mm-hmm. And it is 21 minutes past 7 p.m. Central African time. And if the audience, let me just remind you, if you'd like to engage with the mayor and participate in this discussion, you are most welcome to do so. Of course, you can leave your comment below on our Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter live videos. You are most welcome to do so. And you can also send your messages via WhatsApp to the number 061-766-0355. In a few moments, we'll also be taking a few calls from the listeners. The number for that is 011-6800-355. The number, let me just repeat that, is 011-680-0355. We are looking forward to hearing from you as the listeners and engaging with you this evening. I'm in conversation with Mr. Randall Williams, who is the executive mayor of the city of Tshwane, newly appointed mayor, and he is outlining his plans for the city and what he intends on doing, to improve the city and the lives of the people of the city. Mr. Williams spoke about some of the challenges also that he faces when dealing with these issues. I see a few comments here from VUSI MNISI. We will get to those comments in a short while, but I just want to take a quick ad break, and when we get back, we'll take some of those comments. Please do stay tuned.
Listen to something fresh. Listen to Salaamedia, your humanitarian broadcaster.
Shimmer, sparkle, captivate. Nothing less than a masterpiece. Droplets of gold inspires precious design. Platinum bursts with intricate freshness, and every pure diamond becomes more than just a girl's best friend. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, where timeless dreams become a reality. Come to us. We tailor-make designer gold, platinum, and diamond jewelry. Trade in or remodel your old gold. Clad yourself with classy name-branded watches. We offer insurance valuation and freezer card calculation. Visit us at 534 Ridge Road, Overport, or call 031 208 9142. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, manufacturers of fine gold and diamond jewelry.
They say breakfast is the most important meal of the day, yet many children go to school hungry because of poverty. Penny Appeal's Breakfast Club aim to get a warm, hearty meal to underprivileged children so they can spend the day prospering in their schoolwork. Help feed a needy learner by visiting our website on www.pennyappeal.org.za or call 031 1100 573 to find out how you can donate. Penny Appeal. Small change, big difference.
Enduran Boys College is an independent boarding and day school situated on the N1 highway in Polokwane. We encourage intellectual and emotional development through a holistic learning environment. We follow the NCS KEPS curriculum and house boys from grade 6 to grade 12. We have boarding facilities also available from grade 6 to 12. Enduran Colleges aspires towards being a premier institution of learning by offering quality and value-based education that aims to serve humanity. Enduran Colleges is a safe haven and a home away from home. It is registered with the Department of Education and Umalusi accredited. For more information, contact us on 078 452 6264. Follow us on Facebook or Instagram or email us on polokwane@enduringcolleges.co.za.
Listen to something fresh. Listen to Salaamedia.
25 minutes past 7 p.m. Central African Time. Welcome back. You are tuned into Salaamedia. This is the special focus. My name is Zahid Jadwat, and this evening we are in conversation with Mr. Randall Williams, who is the Executive Mayor of the City of Tshwane, speaking about some of the issues within the city and his plans for the city moving forward. He is envisioning about 11 months until the end of his term, and speaking to us about what he wishes to achieve during this period. And now I see there's a comment here which is from a viewer on YouTube who goes by the name MNISI, who says, a question for the mayor. Can the mayor please clarify on the issue of the 33 employees who were unfairly dismissed and won the award at the bargaining council and labor court? And this comment also, I think, relates to another comment which comes through from somebody by the name of Desmond Skusana, who messages on behalf of the 33 employees. And basically, Mr. Mayor, if I could just give you a background to this story, the message goes as follows. We would like to get clarity from the City of Tshwane Mayor, Mr. Randall Williams, regarding our reinstatement after we were unfairly dismissed. We have an enforcement order which was issued against the city in November 2019 to reinstate us at work, and to date we have not received a proper communication from the city as to why we are not being reinstated. We were unfairly dismissed in November 2017, just in time when we were ought to be absorbed permanently as per a collective agreement signed by the council. We followed all labor processes from the bargaining council, CCMA, labor court, and all the processes favored us. Awards were granted, and eventually the enforcement order was issued. We have been engaging different departments within the city, but each time there's a change in leadership, we get stuck. However, now during the lockdown, we managed to do the following. Firstly, we engaged the former administrators after the municipality was placed under administration, and still the matter was not resolved. Secondly, they engaged the city's legal and they acknowledged the enforcement order and gave their opinion, as well as a green light for the city to implement. Thirdly, the matter moved to HR, where we were also assured that the implementation would take place since the legal council agreed to it. Fourthly, finance also gave their opinion and signed for implementation. Fifthly, GSO gave the green light. The problem started when the acting city manager, Ms. Masabata Mutlaneng, had to sign, and she decided that she will ignore the instruction as per order of court. Now, our questions to the mayor are as follows. Firstly, is the opinion given by the city's legal department ever taken seriously by the officials? When we were terminated, the legal team did warn that the city will not win the case, but the termination continued. Enforcement order, legal department agrees to implement, but the city manager decides to ignore the order, and the above shows that the legal department is being undermined. Secondly, since the 33 people were revenue agents of the city assisting in revenue collections, the big problem the city is facing is that of not collecting enough revenue. So why are they not appointed back to continue assisting as such? Thirdly, if the mayor's apex priority is to settle Eskom bill, then why an option of doing it externally through agencies rather than reinstating internal debt collectors? Fourthly, why is the accounting officer failing to implement an enforcement under his watch? And lastly, what is the view of the mayoral committee on the matter? So these are questions from Mr. Desmond Skusana, who is messaging on behalf of 33 employees, former employees of the City of Tshwane, who were dismissed in a few years back. Councillor, your response to this?
Look, first of all, you asked me a very serious issue. If you gave me the question in advance, I could have come prepared. This is an administration and HR issue, and the person that normally deals with this is the accounting officer, as they said, the acting city manager. But what I will do is, I haven't seen the court order. I don't know if it happened during the time of the administrators, but I will certainly look at it. But this administration issues, people are appointed, employees are appointed by the accounting officer. They're not appointed by maker or by council. The only person that council would appoint would be either, or persons would be either the city manager or Section 56 managers. Those are the only people council appoint. All other employees are appointed by the accounting officer, who's the city manager. So under normal circumstances, such an issue will never reach the mayor or the mayoral committee. But if you gave me the question in advance, I would have asked for a brief from the city manager to find out what's going on, and including I would have read any court judgment myself.
Okay, and then another comment here which comes through from Maria Makwanda, who is also a resident of Pretoria. She says some issues worth noting in the city are firstly the water crisis in Hammanskraal, and she says it's been an ongoing issue for a long time now. Also electricity in part areas of Winterveld, load shedding in Kwaggasrand that is longer than 2 or even 5 hours and sometimes goes on for 10 to 15 hours, sometimes longer. And then water and electricity bills being ridiculously high. This is a comment from one of the listeners. And then also lastly, street lights not working, especially in areas where they should be working. Mayor?
Well, I've been in office now for 2 weeks. If you want miracles in 2 weeks, it's not going to happen. Simple as that. What I want to see improvements. Every week, I want to see improvements in service delivery. But let's start with Hammanskraal water. The Hammanskraal water started in 2004. The administration from 2004 to 2016 did absolutely nothing to remedy the Hammanskraal water crisis. For the first time, the water crisis was being addressed by a DA government. We put a first phase to start refurbishment of Rooiwal, a water treatment plant, which cost over 260 million rands. Now, one of the reasons why we were placed under administration was the Hammanskraal water crisis. And the reason they gave is because they want to send in administrators to fix the Hammanskraal water crisis. Now, 2 days ago, I had a handover meeting with MNISI Mahile, including most of the administrators. Now, I asked them the question, can you please tell us, what have you done for the past 8 months to address the water crisis? Can you tell me which new projects have you put in place to address the Hammanskraal crisis, so that I can see that those projects are completed successfully? The answer to me was, we put absolutely no new project in place to address the Hammanskraal water crisis. We simply continued with the project that the DA put in place. So much for the DA being blamed for the Hammanskraal water crisis. But here's the thing. To fix the Hammanskraal water totally, the whole water issue totally, will cost over 2 billion rands. In the city of Tshwane, we don't have that money to fix it alone. Our total capital budget amounts to 3.9 billion rands. So we can't spend 2 billion rands on one project alone. So what I've done, because there's a new district model where Minister Pravin Gordhan was appointed for City of Tshwane. I still don't fully understand how the district model works, but I spoke to him about the Hammanskraal water crisis. And I said, if Hammanskraal water crisis is going to be resolved, and already we put in interim measures in place. So people should be receiving clean water with the interim measures that have been put in place. But we want to holistically tackle the problem and address it finally. So I asked Minister Pravin Gordhan to assist the municipality to set up meetings with the National Water Affairs Department, because we will only be able to address the Hammanskraal water issue if all three spheres of government work together. Together we use our budgets to solve that issue. So that is the way we're going to work going forward. We must cooperate together. And as far as
all right, thank you so much.
are concerned, like I said, improvements will be incremental. There's going to be no miracle in 2 weeks.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, highlighting the Hammanskraal water issue. And then also within the same comment, the issues of load shedding in Kwaggasrand, the listener is saying that it ends up being longer than 2 or even 5 hours and sometimes going on for 10 to 15 hours, sometimes longer. Your response to this?
Well, the problem we had is all the illegal connections. There's a scourge of illegal connections. That means the system just can't handle the load because of all the illegal connections. The system was not designed to carry, in addition to normal distribution, also illegal connections. And that's what's causing most of the system to trip because of the system being overloaded. So we are going to design a plan to take care of all these illegal connections.
All right. Yeah, thank you so much for that. And I do understand that it would not magically happen. You are in office for just 2 weeks already. And I think time will tell how your administration fares. And we do hope for the best. And to genuinely and sincerely, attempt to clean up the mess is definitely the attitude that is desperately needed in this age when politicians have been running amok with the power that they hold, whether it's corruption, the lack of service delivery, whatever it may be. This has led people to believe that politics is a dirty game. And when I mention that, there is always hope for somebody to come with a sincere and clean intention into politics. People do always end up saying that even those who enter with clean intentions are either corrupted or eliminated. And I always say it's worth a try. But what would your response be to such sentiment?
Look, it's not only about intentions, it's about you actually doing the job. And at the end of the day, it's about output. And people will measure you when it comes to election time in 11 months, whether you've done the job or not. And if you haven't done the job, then you deserve to be voted out. That's what it's about. People must start voting for parties based on performance. And in fact, that was the case. The ANC would have been voted out of government long time ago.
Okay, and I do understand that we have a caller on the line. Let's go to the caller. Good evening to the caller. Thank you so much for calling in.
Good day. Good evening, Zahid. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. And yourself? Your name is?
I'm great. You're speaking to Desmond here.
Okay, thank you so much for calling in. Your question for the mayor?
Okay, Mr. Mayor, in fact, I'm the person who sent the questions through regarding the case of the 33 agents. You have explained that those are labor-related issues and the city manager deals with that. However, as we have mentioned in that brief message, that we have tried everything. Now that you have came into the space, how soon can we meet you? And can you help us resolve this thing? Because I heard you earlier saying that if there are recommendations from the NPA to say so and so is guilty of a criminal charge, you will implement. Can you then help us implement these instructions by the court to reinstate us?
Let me just give you an opportunity to respond to that, Mayor.
Look, I didn't make any commitments. What I said was I will listen to both sides. I will listen to both sides and I will take a decision. I didn't say I will look at one side. I will look at both sides and I will take a decision.
Okay, thank you so much for calling, Desmond. And we do encourage the listeners to call us. Of course, you can engage with us. The WhatsApp number is 061-766-0355 and the call-in number is 011-6800-355. Now, just shifting this discussion, to the broader situation in South Africa as a whole. I just want to get some of your opinion, on some of the issues that affect South Africans as a whole, and your opinion on this. So, what's your opinion on the current political status quo in South Africa? Do we have the right leaders, and are they doing the right thing, in your opinion?
Look, if you specifically talk about government, we don't have the right leaders in government because it's about appeasing factions, keeping factions quiet and keeping them under control. So that way you have to appoint people to positions. And especially if you look at the type of leaders we've got in government departments, it's based on your affiliations. Are you affiliated to a certain party instead of merit? And that's why the majority of these government departments do not perform. I mean, we're now sitting with unemployment of over 50%. In Tshwane, we've got youth unemployment of over 60%. Those things didn't just happen by itself. It happened because there's been a failure of leadership.
Yeah, and interestingly, you mentioned youth unemployment, and this seems to be a problem that's prevalent across South Africa at the moment. It's way beyond 50% if you look at it in the broader picture in South Africa. And you mentioned the statistics was Pretoria as well. So since you have mentioned it, I do want to zoom in on this issue for just briefly. What are you going to do now to assist in alleviating this this issue?
Look, the local governments get very, very little money as far as economic development is concerned, and that's actually wrong. Local governments should actually be responsible for implementing economic projects. That should actually be especially the responsibility of metro cities. I mean, all over the world, it has been recognized that metropolitan cities are centers of growth. They are engines of growth. And we need to change the system where national government is trying to implement projects as far as economic development is concerned. It should be done at the local government level. And what I would like to see is that we reinstate the apprenticeship system that we had before 94. And it's a great pity that it was abolished by the ANC government because they simply associated it with the ANC, with the National Party apartheid government. That was actually a very good system that we should have continued with, because that system was a partnership between government, education, and business. And I would like to see that system reintroduced, because the whole, for example, the whole German economy is based on the apprenticeship system. If the Germans have to do away with the apprenticeship system, the whole German economy will collapse. And that's precisely the problem that we had after 94. You no longer had qualified electricians, welders, plumbers. There's a huge shortage in the system simply because of a bad decision that was taken by the ANC government in 94.
All right, so I think it would require a shift in the way we see, in the way government chooses to deal with youth unemployment and economic development. You know, mentioning, as you mentioned, making it the responsibility of the local government to actually make sure that economic development takes place. And I think the local government should have a really important role when it comes to economic development, because they are closer to the people, you know, in terms of the link between government and the constituency. But your opinion, once again, what do you think is holding South Africa back as a nation? What is it that's holding us back from progressing?
Look, we've got basically a closed market. We need to free up the market. We need to make the market acceptable for people who want to invest in the market. There's no way us going on, like, for example, today, the president had this investment conference. It's not going to help us in any way, despite the fact there's all this magical numbers mentioned, but there's no proof that such investments have in fact taken place. There's all these so-called commitments which are not real commitments. What we need to do is to do away what we call red tape, to do away with regulation that constrain business development. I mean, why is it that countries like Singapore, it takes 1 hour to set up a company? How long does it take in South Africa? Why do we have such stringent labor laws that prevents employers from easily employing someone? You've got all these hurdles that they place in front of entrepreneurs, and then we expect that people will invest and develop businesses. We're making it very, very difficult for people to do business in South Africa. And if we want to change things, change the high unemployment, we need to do away with that. Make it score the ease of doing business. And we must learn from other countries that have low unemployment rates. But in what, 26 years, we've learned absolutely nothing. We're still pursuing the same old policies that failed over and over again. And like Einstein has said, that it is only, what is idiocy or something that doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. That is what we're doing.
And one of the comments here which comes in from Ghulam, who says, don't forget to ask him about the Glad Africa corruption under the previous DA leadership, and if he will make sure people are arrested and charged for stealing billions. I think convictions does. I don't think it would lie within the mayoral office, to ensure that convictions are secured, etc. Because those are that's within the mandate of law enforcement authorities. But if we could just broaden this statement and get your thoughts on corruption as a whole in the Pretoria, the city of Pretoria itself. What's your stance on corruption? What are you going to do when it comes to stamping out potential corruption that may exist?
Well, let me go to Glad Africa. I was part of the mayoral committee when we were briefed. You must remember, politicians are not allowed to be involved in tenders. Something which doesn't go down well with many politicians in many municipalities. That's why you have all this tender corruption. So between us as the mayoral committee and the city manager and his team, there was a strict barrier. We were never involved in tenders. So the only time we find out about tenders is when a report comes to the mayoral committee to inform us which tenders have been passed, which tenders have been signed off. That is when we do our oversight. So in Glad Africa, we were told that they followed a certain regulation that allowed the City of Tshwane to use a panel that was being used by the Development Bank of South Africa. That stood in the report. We later found out that the city manager lied to us. He never appointed the panel that was being used by the Development Bank of South Africa. He, in fact, appointed one company, Glad Africa. So we were misled. And the moment we found out we was misled, we then instituted a forensic investigation. We appointed the law firm Bowman's, a forensic investigation. And we were then going to table the report in council. And we also brought a report to suspend the city manager and to place the city manager under, to suspend the city manager so that we can then bring criminal charges and also disciplinary charges against the city manager. We were prevented by the ANC and EFF to do so twice in 2 council meetings. When we wanted to suspend the city manager, they refused. And because we did not have a majority in council, it could not happen. Secondly, the city manager went to the Labour Court and got an interdict to prevent us from tabling the Bowman's report, forensic report in council. So you see, the moment we find out there's corruption, we immediately act. And we wanted to get the city manager out of the system, and we were prevented from doing so by both the ANC and EFF. And that's the difference between the DA and other political parties.
Indeed, and corruption, of course, is one of the major topics of discussion in South Africa at the moment. It's something that has plagued our country, and it has held us really far back. I mean, the progress that we could have without corruption is really sad. How the very officials which we elect are involved in such things, and the people we're supposed to be trusting, to keep to take us forward, and this is what how power is abused, and it's really sad, the situation when it comes to corruption. I am going to remind the listeners and the audience once again that you can call in to engage with us. The number for that is 011-6800-355. We will take 1 or 2 more calls, and we will also be taking a few comments from the audience via, you can tweet or tag at Salaamedia. Of course, don't forget to use the hashtag The Special Focus, or you can leave your comments below our Facebook and YouTube live videos. I believe we do have a call on the line. It's VUSI. Good evening, VUSI. Thank you for calling us.
Good evening, and how are you? Yeah, and
thank you.
Good evening to the mayor. I've got 2 issues here. The first one is related to the 33 employees. I just want to emphasize to the mayor that we are talking here 33 families. Those people were the breadwinners. Now they're living under poverty. They have nothing to eat as we speak. And more so, they've got a court instruction that says those employees have to be reinstated. However, I do understand when the mayor says he still have to look at both sides. But then what I wanted to clarify and request from the mayor is that is it not possible to schedule a meeting so that you meet these 33 employees? This is very critical, my dear mayor. Please attend to this matter urgently. It's been since 2017. These poor employees being at home without employment, without anything of some sort. That's the one thing. Secondly, I'm a resident of Renstown. We are up to date with our payments in terms of the bills whatsoever. But now, right at my doorstep, there's a dump site. We've been calling the city to come and clear the dump site and identify a spot where it could be, where it could be regarded as a dump site. Now we are living under hazardous conditions. It's too unhygienic. So I'm requesting the mayor to come and attend to it. I can give you the chapter and verse of the problems that we're facing at Renstown. The dump site really, and even the residents are now fighting over the dumping site. So really, I need your intervention in that regard. Thank you very much.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for your call, and we do appreciate it. So, firstly, Mayor, the first issue, I think you did address that previously, earlier on in the show, with regards to the 33 employees, and VUSI requesting a meeting with the employees, and I think I could pass on their details to you so that you can, with your team, and you can basically liaise between yourself and the 33 employees. And but I want to give you a chance to respond to the issue of the dump site.
For the last week and a half that the MMC for Environmental Affairs has been in office, he's been actively eradicating dump sites. So I've got a number of photos. He's cleaned up a number of areas. So what I would suggest is that the caller maybe give you the details of the dump site, the address, and you can forward it to me. And I will then give it to the MMC to put it on his list for him to clear that dump site as well.
Right, and let me just take an anonymous comment here. If I could just scroll and quickly find it here. So this anonymous comment here says, South Africa does indeed have a serious issue of xenophobia, and there's been a growing anger over the amount of illegal immigrants entering the country. What's your policy on illegal immigration?
Look, we've got various competencies. The Constitution is quite strict. When it comes to home affairs, it's a competency of national government. We're not, as a local government, allowed to have policies or any actions on immigration. That has been allocated to national government, so it's their competency. In my view, I myself lived in a foreign country for 7 years, and I was accepted in that foreign country for 7 years. And no one tried to kick me out because I was a foreigner. So that I can just tell from my personal experience. But from a local government perspective, we're not allowed to have any policies on immigration. It's a national government competency.
All right, thank you so much for that response, Mr. Mayor. And I think we do have just 7 minutes remaining until the end of the show. So if we could just we could begin wrapping up this discussion. So the next local government election, we understand, is on our doorstep. Just a few months to go until South Africans head to the polls. If anything can give us an overview of what the sentiment is on the ground, it's the recent mass by-election, which showed great loss for the Democratic Alliance, which is the party which you are affiliated with. So how do you think you can restore confidence in your party? What do you think are your prospects? I'm not sure if you are going to be the day's candidate next year in the elections, but what do you think is the prospects for your party to retain the sitting in the next election?
Actually, a by-election does not give you the true results. By-elections are mere ward elections where you vote directly for the person that stands in the ward. not only for the party. So if you have a community leader standing for a specific ward, it can influence the result. So when you look at local government has two types of elections in local government. You have your direct representation, which is what happens in a by-election, and you also have the proportional vote, which is very, very important, because proportional votes also give you councillors. Now, what happened in this by-election, if you look at the numbers, proportionally, the DA actually increased their numbers. So if that is a trend going into the local government elections next year, we will actually improve as far as the numbers of our proportional councillors are concerned. Because if you look at Tshwane, we've got more councillors in council than the ANC. But the ANC has got twice as many ward councillors than the DA. They've got about 67, 69 ward councillors. We've only got about 37. So it's not only ward councillors that allow you to win. Getting the most ward councillors, that means that you're going to win the elections. It means every vote counts in a local government election. So if your proportional vote is higher than the next person's, you will get more councillors, like we've got at the moment. We've got the majority of councillors in Tshwane because of the proportional vote. So if you look at this by-election of last week, proportionally, the DA did a lot better.
All right, thank you so much for that. 4 minutes remaining until 8 p.m. Central African time. This is where we are going to have to wrap up. So I'm going to just ask you for your final thoughts, Mr. Mayor, your final message for the citizens of Pretoria and for the citizens of South Africa at large.
Look, in the next 11 months, my aim is to stabilize service delivery. My aim is just to build a solid foundation that going forward in the next term, we'll be able to build on that solid foundation.
Okay, and just looking at a final comment here from a listener who goes by the name of Shanita Duploy, who says, excellent interview, Executive Mayor Williams, well done. Keep up with and all the best with the good work. Hashtag Tshwane stable, safe, delivers. Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Randall Williams, Executive Mayor of Tshwane.
Thank you, and thank you to your viewers.
All right, and that was a really interesting discussion with the newly appointed Executive Mayor of the City of Tshwane, speaking to us about the various issues faced by residents in the municipality and what the municipality is now going to be doing to address these issues. He spoke about cutting expenses, increasing revenue, improving service delivery overall. That's something which I think many residents are going to be looking forward to, and seeing whether this actually happens. We also spoke about youth unemployment in the municipality and in the country at large, and we spoke about the mayor's general opinion on the status quo of politics in South Africa. Lots to discuss here, and I really enjoyed this discussion, but it was a fantastic discussion. It is now 2 minutes to 8 p.m. Central African time. It's normally the time when I start saying my goodbyes to you as the listeners, but it's not goodbye right now as yet. We still have one more segment, which is a special segment coming this evening. It's an extended segment. We are going to be speaking to a student activist, Lutfia Dean, who is going to be speaking to us, giving us her perspective, the students' perspective in a response to comments which were made by Professor Adam Habib, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Witwatersrand, last week on the show regarding student protests at the university, particularly the hashtag fees must fall protests. That discussion, I recall, did become one that was really heated last week. So it is important that we get balance this week. And that is why we are seeking the response from the students. And that's why Lutfia Jean is going to be joining us in about 5 minutes. Let's take a quick ad break. And when we get back, that conversation is still to come. Please do stay tuned.